Hello and welcome once again to my YouTube channel. In the last video we spoke about a gentleman by the name of Cobb Chan who was captured and was the first to be marched up the pyramid altar to be sacrificed to the new king of Cheros. In this video we're still staying in Belize, but roughly 200 years later, and explaining the political situation around that time. We have a little bit more writing now. The stories are much more fuller about how everything is related around northern Belize and the surrounding areas in Guatemala, Lower Mexico, and Honduras. Before I go on, I'd like to thank all my subscribers for joining me again today, and if you see me for the first time and you like what you hear, please hit the subscribe button and also the bell icon. Now, so just to let you know when I'm putting out another video, and I could do with a share. Let's move on. The people of Cheroks, Sardinia and Coruscant experimented with kingship over 2,000 years ago at Cheros. They finally decided to go back to the ancient ways of small farming villages, much as they do today. The king that started the building program in Cheros at the head of the New River was never buried in the Acropolis he had made. Whether he was killed in battle, captured and sacrificed, or died some death at a remote location on a trading ship, we do not know. We know that his heirs managed to get enough support from the surrounding area to build more temples, and these were done roughly and cheaply. City-states were rising and sinking at this time, and Cheros and Lamanahi were some of the very first in Maya history, and of course Belize, to ever be built. The very act of building pyramids placed Belize in the historical forefront as a leader in the changing custom of political organization for the Maya of Meso-America. The swampy northern area of Belize was also the breadbasket for the nearby dry northern Yucatan, which is drought and insect pests, namely mosquitoes. If you've been there, you'll know all about those mosquitoes. The system of wall fields, seasonal re-fertilization of the growing area by heaping the muck cleaned out of the drainage irrigation canals on the ridges on each side would make new soil full of fresh, rich nutrients. In fact, they could plant crops every day or every week of the year and never do without food. In later centuries, this practice was to be developed and industrial farming, and the Maya exported food far and wide, particularly during the 200-year drought in Panama, which hardly affected them at all, due to the swampy ground and the local rainfall convection from the nearness of the sea. Traders from Cheros traveled far and wide in long dugout canoes with as many as 40 paddlers. They traveled north to Cozumel and south to Honduras, visiting many of the trading ports in between. They were young men full of adventure, eager to see the wide world, to explore the fabled lands beyond northern Belize. This practice went on for thousands of years. We know those people more than 2,000 years ago in Belize were literate, for they wrote on their pots and ceramics. We still read these today. Something emphatic must have happened, or perhaps it was some charismatic leader. The village that lay at the site before the temple at Cheros was built was abandoned as a group. The people broke their belongings, the pots, the jade jewelry, buried the house sites in a ritual ceremony of getting rid of the old life and starting of a new life. making a broad plastered plaza with massive temples. This must have taken a lot of organised labour from the farms around the area. It was not uncommon for farmers in Belize, though thousands of years ago, to live to be 80 years old. Life must have been healthy then, as it is now, even though we know they traded as far as Central Valley of Mexico and saw metal tools. For some reason, they never adopted metal tools in Belize. One of the instruments found at Chetumal, a burial site just a few miles south of Cheros, was a bone blood-letting instrument used in ceremonial rituals from pre-classic era, a few hundred years before the Temple of Ceres was built. Ambergris Key was used as a port of entry for the villages of Chetumal Bay during those old days. We suppose foreign traders would need guides or transshipment of goods to find the towns in the area coming by sea. Much of the area has a lot of very shallow water, making passage for trading canoe difficult in some spots. This would have required local knowledge. The sign of royal leadership, or kingship as we call it, through pre-classical era 2,500 years ago to the present day was a headband or sort of crown of precious stones representing the jester god image found on many carved monuments over many centuries of history. A cache of stone pendants was found at Cheros in northern Belize, made in the 1st century BC. 5 head pendants of precious stones were discovered in a deliberate arrangement within a ceramic bucket at Cheros. This style of lowland Mayan stone carving did not change for many thousands of years. A nearly identical royal headband piece was found at Nimlipanit in Toledo district of modern-day Belize, but was made some 500 years later, representing the jester god, sign of kingship and royalty. 4 more headbands were discovered at the city-states of Normal, also in Belize. These 4 also had precious stones, particularly green stones. The headbands of royalty in Normal in Belize were almost 1,000 years younger or later than that found from Cheros in Belize. So far, the earliest discovery of writing is 2,500 years ago. The new Mayan calendar we know started 5,110 years ago. And with that, I'll end it there for today. So, once again, thank you for joining me, and if you like what you hear, please hit the subscribe button.